repository of energy. And that has low levels of the caffeine-related alkaloids in green tea, which for me work. I struggle with coffee. Coffee is something that the caffeine in coffee is a little too potent for me. The only time I could ever do that is before I exercise. If I'm going to do it before I make a phone call or go to a meal or something, my mouth and my brain become disconnected. Right. And plus, I just don't feel really comfortable. But green tea seems to work for me. In terms of CoQ10, this is the most common sense, scientifically straightforward approach to energy production that anyone could ever engage, because we are responsible for the energy production in each and every one of our cells. In our society, we have a power plant that generally fuels each of our homes and things. In fact, here, we produce all the energy here. That's a unique thing. So this entire building is fueled by the sun outside. Wow. But, which I don't think there's any other company that can say that about their headquarters, and we've been doing that for 20 years. But when it comes to our body, all of the trillions and trillions and trillions of cells, it's hard to imagine, but every single one of those cells must produce their own energy. There's no other cell that can help them out and give them a hand and produce more energy. And the key to producing all that energy, the actual mechanism by which it is done, is by the movement of electrons. That movement, that electron potential, that movement of electrons is responsible for the energy that we're all experiencing as you're watching this, as I'm standing here, as Adam's standing here. That energy that defines what we call life, our existence, is the movement of electrons. And CoQ10 is the central molecule. As we get older, we have less of it available. If we take certain drugs like statin drugs or drugs for osteoporosis, we have less of it available. But that CoQ10 is responsible for the movement of those electrons. So it's something, and it's also why, because CoQ10 alone is not the center of the universe in terms of energy production, but we also require, say, riboflavin. What is it? FAD, flavoadenosine dinucleotide. Wow. That's another molecule that's involved. That's the coenzyme form of riboflavin. That's another molecule that's involved in the cellular process, whatever we call it, the tricarboxylic acid cycle, the Krebs cycle in our cells that produces energy. So again, if we simply look at how our body works, we would realize that CoQ10 is not the be-all and end-all of all energy production. It is the most central and most important, but it needs help. So when you look at all these CoQ10 products on the market, a lot of them are unnecessarily put into soft gel capsules. The important thing is when you take CoQ10, just eat it with a little bit of fat. If I'm taking it on its own at home, you can even take it on an empty stomach. I'll just take it with a few almonds or a few cashews or something like that. Have it something that has a little fat, or say Muriel always has these little teaspoons. She loves the nut butters, the organic nut butters that are pure nut butters, like pecans or walnuts are incredibly healthy nuts. Good for you. Nuts are wonderfully healthy. So you just need a tiny bit of fat to absorb it optimally. But when you're looking at CoQ10, it needs help, and you can't just deliver it on its own and expect it to work well, which is why if you look at our product, the reviews on this product are virtually perfect. There couldn't be a better designed, better put together CoQ10 product than we deliver here.
We'd love to send this out to you. I know for many of us, CoQ10 is a product that we already take, or certainly have taken in the past. Try Andrew's CoQ10. I think you'll be very, very, very happy with it. Remember, all of our pricing expires at the end of the visit, so certainly take advantage. Andrew, just going back to food for a second, because what I really appreciate from you is always this very balanced argument that you present in terms of the decisions that you make. Right. When it comes to diet, how do we feel about excessive amounts of dairy, and also in terms of meat versus fish? Because a lot of us seem to sway very, very heavily towards lots of dairy and lots of red meat.
Well, we all have to choose our own way we eat. I'm not one of those people who kind of proselytize folks about you have to eat this way, you have to do this, you have to be a vegan or something like that. Everybody needs to get there.
Can you hear that?
Something moving overhead, or is that an aircraft outside? It could have been, because sometimes they have, or I was going to say, sometimes they have the Air Force Base nearby here, and sometimes they have...
I've never heard anything outside the studio
so
before.
It could be. But, so that, I don't know if you heard it at home. But in terms of diet, I'm someone who I really don't eat red meat anymore. My whole life I was a big red meat eater, but I really don't eat red meat anymore. I love fish, I love chicken, I love turkey. I love to eat things mostly organic. And it's one of those things, when I try to explain why I eat organic, it's less about what's going into my body than what it means in terms of, for a milligram of pesticides to be on a food that you eat,
yes,
it probably means that 1,000 milligrams or 100 milligrams of pesticides, or put that in pounds or put that in tons, were put out into the environment. So we're essentially drowning or swimming in these toxic chemicals. So it's not so much what's on our food that we're eating as much as what was in the environment to leave that in our food. It's sort of the whole discussion of GMO.
Right.
I avoid GMO foods. Why? Not because a genetic modification is bad, but the typical genetic modification makes plants pretty much immune to herbicides. So what ends up happening, those crops are swimming in toxic chemicals, in herbicides. What is it, Roundup or
Sure.
glyphosate? So so there are a lot of things we could do in terms of our diet. If dairy works for you, dairy is fine, but you have to be aware of the cholesterol, saturated fat, if you might have cardiovascular risk. If red meat works for you, fine. We all have to make our own decisions. Hopefully those decisions are in our best interests. I'm someone who I love eating as vegetarian-based as I can, and then I simply make sure that I get good quality protein from clean sources, mostly fish or chicken or turkey. So it's all up to us. And again, I think it's a lot of people get turned off when someone tells you you have to eat a certain way.
Yes.
You don't have. The best thing to do is just reduce the synthetic concentrated sources of sugar. Don't worry about the sugar that's in healthy fruits or vegetables. Right. But if you're going to have processed packaged foods, that's when you start having problems. So we really need to, we should eat things that look like they did in nature and eat less, quote, manufactured food, high concentrated sources of sugar or the like. So I'm someone who, to the degree we could eat healthy, wholesome foods, we're going to be healthier. To the degree we could do it organically, so much the better. So that's kind of what I tend, and as I said before, if someone has a choice of getting the best supplements in the world and eating so-so, or never taking a supplement but eating a perfect diet, never take a supplement, eat a perfect diet. That, again, as much as I make vitamin supplements, I know that the most important decisions we make every day pertain to what we eat. And the reason why my products become important is because most of us aren't making great decisions in terms of what we eat. And as we said before, because my products are nothing more than just dietary supplements. So again, we have to put all of these things in their proper context. And I think so many companies or businesses, they have their agenda, so it's you don't really get an objective statement. It wouldn't be like most folks who make vitamins to be saying what I'm saying about the relative unimportance of vitamins compared to having a healthy diet and a healthy lifestyle.
Well, it's just the honesty, and that's really part and parcel of the integrity of the Andrew Lessman brand. That's why we love doing this. It's just an open and honest discussion about health and the decisions that we make. I don't want to leave here without addressing PQQ20. I've never seen this one before.
PQQ, I'm making that because so many folks have requested it. We started making it, I guess, about a year or so ago. When we talk about CoQ10, we often talk in terms of protecting our mitochondria and mitochondrial health, protecting the telomeres in the genetic material in our mitochondria, and the newest and latest and best research on protecting our mitochondria pertains to PQQ. I'd recommend doing some research on the internet on PQQ. One of these days we'll take some significant time, maybe when I do an online event. And we'll talk about PQQ in greater detail. But it's an extremely expensive product. Many of you have asked me to do a special version of CoQ10 with PQQ, and it will make it a bit more affordable, but it's still, because it's just one of those materials like zeaxanthin that is just outrageously expensive. We're talking about tens of thousands of dollars a kilogram. Tens of thousands of dollars.
So we're going to head over this way to an item which, when we talk about glowing reviews and a desert island product that people do not want to be without, it's the circulation and vein support. Has it always been a popular choice, Andrew?
Well, it's a product that it's like so many, most companies make products for which there's a demand because they're just involved in doing business, selling product. When I originally did this product about 20 years ago, there was zero demand, unless you're in Europe. Because in Europe, in France, it has to be actually prescribed, recommended by a physician for the healthy circulation in your legs, or actually they also recommend it for the healthy circulation somewhere else. something, yeah.
I see where you're going with that.
Yeah. So, well, it just seems so indiscreet to talk about on air, but when we suffer from hemorrhoids are challenged circulation in another area. So it's somewhere where the ingredients in this product can support healthy circulation, not just in our legs, but somewhere nearby. Right. So when we talk about this product, when I introduced it 20 years ago, absolutely zero demand. No one had heard about diosmin, and that was the key ingredient at the time. Since that time, we've enhanced the potency of the diosmin. We've increased it by 20%. We've also increased the potency, and we added other ingredients. So if you look at this chart behind me, we originally had 500 milligrams of diosmin. It's now 600. Then we added the hesperidin and rutin because that's what a lot of the clinical science was adding. And then we added butcher's broom extract, which I view as almost as effective as diosmin, pine bark extract and grapeseed extract, just because I wanted to deliver all the, again, and they're all standardized extracts. They're not just dried butcher's broom or dried grapeseed. They all are standardized extract with a specific disclosure of a specific component in that extract, in that plant. But so when I introduced this, it was one of those products, kind of like healthy hair, skin, and nails,
right,
that there was no demand for the product. And then people tried it, and people tried it. And when I talk about it on air, there wasn't a lot of demand. And then, thankfully, more and more people tried it. And then, as we have the visibility of reviews, nothing has done more to help these products than the reviews. Because I could talk till I'm blue in the face, as blue as my shirt. And I think when you watch people on TV, you have a healthy skepticism.
Yes.
Because they're representing their product. I try not to overrepresent my products. I try to talk more about the general science than the product itself. What's wonderful about the reviews, it kind of democratizes all of that. It gives you an opportunity at your leisure to read about the product and see how other people experience that product. And with all of my products, if they don't continually get, say, 75, 85, 90, 95% positive reviews, they will not continue to exist. We will go back to the drawing board, as we did with marine collagen peptides, and we will make the product better. Even though this was a perfectly reviewed product pretty much, we still continue to make it better, because that's another problem I have, is even if a product is fantastic, I always want to find a way to make it better, and we've done that with this product.
I mean, Andrew never stands still, and that's what's remarkable, is that these formulas, right?
I think it was, who was it? I remember, I'm going to date myself again. When I was a little kid, I collected baseball cards and things like that, and there was a baseball player who played, his name's Satchel Paige, African-American, played in what was called at the time the Negro Leagues. And he was probably one of the greatest baseball players of all time. And I think he didn't get up to the major leagues until he was in his 50s pretty much. And even then he still excelled. He was certainly in his late 40s. And I remember him being interviewed when I was a kid and just being enamored with his story. And I always remember he had a quote that was something like, you just don't look back, which is a healthy way to look at things, because his career, he was deprived of being able to play in the major leagues. Right. But you don't look back. That can make you bitter and negative. But he was saying, I think you don't look back, or you just don't stop moving, because somebody might be gaining on you.
There you go.
So I think that affected me as a child. So I think now I'm constantly trying to move forward.
Never
progressing.
Stop. Never stop. I mean, that's really what goes on with Andrew's formulas. One of the most exciting things is every time we arrive in Henderson, Nevada, or when Andrew's in St. Petersburg, there's always something new. There's a new twist. But all of this is always founded in the science, because things are always changing.
Yeah, that's, well, my background as a kid, that was always my focus in all my studies, has always been science. And you can't make a nutritional supplement. You can't make it effectively without having an understanding, a comprehension, and an awareness of the science. And that's what everything we do. And there are so many products that were enormous products in the marketplace. Many of them were touted and promoted by Dr. Oz. Things like raspberry ketone or green coffee bean extract. And we fielded hundreds, if not thousands, of requests for that product here, and I refused to make it. Why? There was no science. There was a lot of hype, but there was no science. And now, of course, those products have gone away, and there's been tens of millions of dollars in judgments against the companies who are promoting those products. But the only products I will make are products for which there's going to be science and a clear understanding of what you could expect from the product.
As we head over this way, have you ever considered doing like a TV show?
Well, that's what we're doing now.
Yeah, I mean, like a talk show. I mean, I know this is like a talk show, but
no, I've been requested many times, but over the years, and especially nowadays with all the different channels and things, I constantly am asked whether I would do that, but that's not what I do. I'm not a TV celebrity. My products are the star, and I make great products that get wonderfully reviewed, which is when anyone sees me out and about. They don't tell me how wonderful I am. They tell me how wonderful my products are. Real celebrities, they're told how much everybody loves them. They love my products, and I'm happy with that.
But you have delivered something, Andrew, that is virtually impossible to do. There is a trust. I trust you. I trust the words that you say. And as you said, when people watch TV, typically there's a healthy skepticism, but you've managed to combat that because it is truthful.
No, I think, well, first of all, I've been doing this on TV now for almost 27 years. I've been making products for 38 years. But I think the real reason is I'm inherently skeptical myself. So because I'm inherently skeptical, I think people deserve real facts and real information, so they're not going to be skeptical just as I would be if I was watching me. Plus, and I'm not sure if my parents are watching now, hopefully they're not, because I used to always criticize this about them, but they gave me a really healthy humility as a child. No matter how well I did on something, they were not impressed. So I grew up thinking that I always had to do my very best. And it was all a byproduct of not results, but how much I was committed to my work. That was what was important to them. How much I invested in terms of work, not how great my results were. So I think my parents gave me a very, very healthy dose of humility, that as they have numerous things that they used to say, that everyone puts their pants on one leg at a time.
There you go.
You know, that everyone goes potty, and so no matter how famous they are, no matter how whatever they might be in their world, so we're all just human beings. So, and we all try to do, hopefully, the best we can and deliver in some fashion value to other people.
One of the things that I do encourage you to do is to check out Andrew's blog. I know you put a lot of time and effort into your blog, and it gives you a chance to say things that you don't say here.
I wish I wish I was working less so I had more time to write more, because I love doing that. But I typically only write things for the blog in advance of the visits. But oftentimes I'll write things on other topics that I have my opinions about lots of different things. I try to stay not political, because I think that political world, all it does, I should have mentioned this when we were talking about valerian and stress and things, because all that political world does is make us crazy. And no matter which side of the aisle you're on, as I always say, we all have our little sphere of influence, and I think to the extent we could focus on our health, our well-being, that of the people we love, focus on our job and all of that, keep ourselves in a little world, then where we have influence, where we act, we could see the impact of what we do. If we worry about what's going on, and certainly it's worrisome, whether it's in North Korea or Afghanistan or Syria, Lord knows we could lie awake at night and never have a moment's peace. So we have to remember, I wrote this in one of my blog posts, it's that it's a prayer. I think that's something that AA, the folks at AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, often talk about. What is it that we change the things we can, we accept the things we can't, and most importantly, we know the difference. So the things we can change and act upon in our world, we do our best to change. But then we have to recognize the things that are out of our control, and we have to find a way to accept them and find peace with them.
No, it's a wonderful way to live. I mean, right there. Right. It's important. Folks, bear with us. I know we are racing through as much as we can. We
didn't even talk about cinnamon.
I know, this is such an important one as well.
And cinnamon's important because, and when I talk about weight loss or weight gain or weight management, what I generally talk about is how we need to blame our ancestors. We inherited genes that were designed to survive really well in a world of scarcity. So we now live in a world of abundance where if I had a cell phone here, I could call and have any one of 100 different restaurants deliver food here. Or we could go to any one of grocery stores. It's just, we live in a world of abundance where most of the foods are too rich in calories and not rich in nutrition. So the problem we have with overweight and obesity and the impact that has on our ability to manage our blood pressure, and in this case, manage our blood sugar, it's devastating to the health of our country. And for decades, I was asked about an ingredient that might be able to help with managing blood sugar metabolism, helping us with our insulin metabolism. And cinnamon was really the first. And that was about 4 or 5 years ago. So cinnamon extract is really the first. It's a wonderful ingredient. Show it to your doctor, because many of us, I think the #1 class of drugs that have actually exceeded the statin drugs for cholesterol are now the drugs that help us deal with type 2 diabetes, which is really an epidemic in our society. It affects our cardiovascular health. It affects our cerebrovascular health. It affects our eye health. It's just something that's devastating to the overall health of our country. So to the extent we can lose weight, to the extent we can improve our lifestyle, what we eat, and do the right things to give us back a bit of control over our blood sugar and our insulin metabolism, that's a positive thing. And cinnamon is an exceptional tool in that regard. It's one of our most, I think, perfectly reviewed products. And then we also have berberine. And berberine is cinnamon you could take as little as 1 capsule daily. 1 or 2 capsules daily is perfect. Berberine, to follow the clinical research and clinical science, which is impressive. Berberine, you're going to want to take 1 capsule with each meal. It's best to be taken with meals. We've designed it so it's a little bit more mild, but berberine itself, that plant, can be slightly irritating to the digestive system. Not for all people, but for some people. Always take it with food.
Andrew, when it comes, and I wanted to just ask you about that for just a second. I've read so many different things about when we're eating our meals, whether we should be consuming drinks at the same time. Some people say you should drink before or after, but not during a meal. Is that true?
You're not talking about alcoholic beverages.
No, just normal water.
Yeah, I think it's normal for us to hydrate when we eat. What some people are talking about is sometimes when we hydrate too much, we dilute the hydrochloric acid.
Right.
Many of us, as we get older, even though we suffer from GERD or gastric esophageal reflux disease, and we feel like our stomachs are more acidic, actually, our stomachs are more sensitive, and oftentimes we're not secreting enough acid. What I always say with things like that, in terms of choosing your diet, as long as you're not eating like synthetic foods, as long as you're eating healthy foods, listen to your body. Right. Develop a relationship with your body where you listen to how your digestive system functions. What I really say in terms of both weight loss and health, keep a food diary. It's really easy to do with smartphones now. Heck, you can take pictures of everything you eat before you eat it. So you have a record of what you've eaten and the quantities you've eaten. That's the most important thing we could do, is really have that kind of an awareness. A lot of us, we're so busy, we're so crazy, we just forget about what we're sort of brain dead. We're kind of robots when we're shoving food into our face, and we forget how important that is. That is, even depending on the doctors you might read or the experts you might read, most of them will say, at a minimum, that over half of the major health issues we suffer from in life, whether it's going to be cancer or heart disease, things like that, is diet and lifestyle related. Some will say over 80%. And I'm more on that 80% side. So we, again, have incredible power. What I wanted to show quickly on the berberine, because berberine is an ingredient that's closely related to curcumin. But berberine, like curcumin, originally it was an herb, but look how bright yellow color that is. And it was also used for coloring. And there's no real need for synthetic dyes and colors when you see how bright turmeric is. Turmeric is bright orange, that berberine is bright yellow. And even if you look at our fruitful antioxidants product, it's bright purple. There's all sorts of natural choices if you want to color a product that they don't have to use, like all the multivitamins out there. Most of them contain yellow number 5 and yellow number 6. Berberine is in tiny concentrations is an incredibly rich, bright yellow color.
You shocked me, Andrew, when you said this earlier. Do you think that people really care about the color of the vitamins? It just seems so inane. It seems crazy.
Well, I think if we don't think about it and we don't recognize that those are artificial colors, certainly I would think if I ever made a tablet and had colors, you'd think, oh, Andrew's using turmeric or berberine or berries to color it. We don't think that those large vitamin companies are supposedly making us a healthy product, and they're putting these artificial colors in. I think it's clear that we like our food to be colorful, but usually it's candies and confections. I mean, M&Ms, I've always loved M&Ms as a kid, but M&Ms have pretty colors. And so I think if M&Ms are all, and we're working on doing our own kind of version of M&Ms with cholestacare, so it survives the heat of summer. We might have it next year. So in the summer, our cholestacare, our Choco Nuvo, which lowers cholesterol like cholestacare, it won't have to go away in summer because we'd have, instead of a little square, maybe you take a half a dozen little M&Ms.
That's exciting.
But what's also, when you look at things like M&Ms, it's kind of surprising. Although they said, to their credit, they're going to be removing artificial colors in the next few years, which I love to hear. But there's all sorts of interesting ingredients that I've learned that we've already figured out how to make our M&M kind of product with just the chocolate center and then only some fiber around the chocolate and a little bit of sugar around the fiber. Usually there's a whole bunch of other additives thrown in, but we figured out how to do it like that. You need to have that fiber, otherwise the natural fats contained in the chocolate will leach through to the sugar and break up the shell and things. So it's something we're working on, but as we're always working on something.
That's very exciting.
But again, I think we do, to a certain extent, care about color, but I think when it comes to an informed consumer and a product about which they've been educated, you don't care anymore about color. That I remember some folks who were at, what was it, Warner Lambert, I think was the company. They were making Benadryl, and it's a diphenhydramine. It's an antihistamine that's usually in a bright pink pill. And I had said to them a long time ago, why don't you make a color and dye-free version of it? Haven't you been requested? Because a lot of kids take that, and a lot of kids you don't want to be dosing them with those artificial colors and things like that, which they did, to their credit. But why that hasn't carried through to vitamins and things, I'm just not sure.
It's interesting seeing how things have changed, and I think we as a society are maybe more informed than we used to be, that we kind of expect a little more than we used to do as well, you know? Right. We want to spend a few moments here, which is on Andrew's always popular Ultimate Whey.
It's May. A lot of folks focus on weight loss now because summer is coming.
Indeed it is.
We have our secure meal replacements. We make secure meal replacement with soy protein, whey protein, and even marine collagen protein. But what I just wanted to show was our protein powder. A lot of folks start working out more and they're, say, reducing their caloric intake, but they still want to make sure they're getting quality protein. This is the highest quality protein you'll find anywhere. It also, I'll show you in a moment, mixes with water. But you won't find another protein product like this. It's, as you look at just this chart right here, it's 10 grams of whey protein isolate, which is just a small scoop. That's per serving. There's no fat. There's no trans fat. There's no saturated fat. There's no cholesterol. This, despite it being derived from whey protein, which is a dairy-derived source. No carbohydrate, no sugar. So even folks who are lactose intolerant, you should just try the product. You could return it if it doesn't work for you. But it's got such low levels of sugar that it's considered sugar-free. Low sodium, no added soy. Most whey protein products add soy for solubility, and a lot of people are using whey to avoid soy. No flavors added, no sweeteners added, no artificial ingredients. You add it to a smoothie, you add it to your oatmeal. It almost tastes like you added a little bit of milk, because the only hint of flavor it has is a slight dairy flavor. So in a smoothie, it's wonderful. Even a vegetable smoothie, we'll add it at home. A fruit smoothie, we'll add it at home, or even in your oatmeal. It mixes perfectly, as I'll show you. It even mixes simply in a glass of water. It's good I'm getting my whey protein and my marine collagen peptides here. But where is a scoop? Is there a scoop here?
Why is sodium not good? There's always a big thing around sodium.
And there's a lot of discussion in terms of sodium because not everyone is necessarily sodium sensitive. But sodium is something that in many individuals, increased intake of sodium is associated with a significantly increased rate of hypertension, meaning high blood pressure. But again, it's not a perfect relationship, not a perfect correlation, but in large populations, reducing sodium intake, and there were just some interesting studies on it recently, and they go both ways. But sodium is something that we love the taste of sodium, but we want to make sure that we're like anything. We're consuming, we want it in that healthy level. So we don't want to be consuming too much sodium because sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium, these are the electrolytes that should exist in our body in a healthy balance. And again, sodium is something that we should watch our intake of sodium, and when we're like with glucosamine or chondroitin, we don't want sodium, we don't need to be getting extra sodium for our supplements. Let's get the sodium with the foods that we might want it to be more palatable. And again, of course, being moderate. But as you saw, this is a whey protein isolate. I kind of took it for granted. I stirred it for about 5 seconds, and it mixes completely. And the only thing it will taste like, it will just taste like a little bit like a hint of milk. Otherwise, no flavor.
And again, please feel free to try it. One of the things that Andrew will always tell you, if you don't like it, you return it and you get all of your money back. So feel encouraged to give it a go. As
you saw, I took 2 scoops, mixed it in about 8 ounces of water, and I just drank it. It's not chunky, everything is in solution, and there's nothing left in the glass. So it's unlike and that's an incredibly high quality protein. I defy you to find a higher quality protein, a purer protein, anywhere in the world. We add nothing to it. Andrew, I know we're going to do our tour momentarily, I believe. Right. Just a quick mention on the energy and fat metabolism factors. Right, that's for those of you who want something first thing in the morning, maybe when you have that little lull in the afternoon, maybe before you exercise, which is when I like this product. This is a product that's designed to deliver the components necessary for fat-burning metabolism and for energy metabolism, but also to give you a small amount of the caffeine-related alkaloids from green tea and from guarana. For me, I tend to be sensitive to caffeine from coffee, so for me, this is my way, and I also drink green tea, at least until about 2 o'clock, first half of the day, and then I have chamomile and peppermint tea. But for me, it's a way to get that subtle boost of energy without it being uncomfortable. Should we do the tour now, Andrew? Let's do that. I know a lot of folks have been waiting for this. Little bonnet. This is not a green screen, as we're about to establish. These folks are really here working, fulfilling the orders. No, and it's funny. They're not actors. This is our facility. This is where everything we've talked about, everything you see, has its origins here. The raw materials must come in here. They get assayed by any number of staff in terms of our quality department. That's quality control, quality assurance. That's our focus to make sure the products are as good as we intend them when we design them, that they perform exactly like that when you get them home. And then, of course, the raw materials come in from one side of the warehouse there. They move through production, and then they go to the other side of the warehouse where they leave, and on either side of the building are offices. And we have a few 100,000 square feet here, all of them covered with solar panels, and our parking lot covered with solar panels. We literally have no carbon footprint whatsoever. Which is remarkable, really, in this day and age. I mean, what an achievement that is. Okay, we've been doing that for 20 years, by the way. So. A blaze trailing, I mean, honestly, business initiative, but that's the way. If we can do it like that, Andrew, we should be doing it like that. I'm a little company. I wish that big companies would do what we do. That would be great. So, we are now out on our production floor. Yes. This is our packaging area. So this is where, after we make a dosage form, whether we put a powder in a bottle, whether we put powder in capsules, this is where the capsules will go into bottles, and the bottles will be finished and then put into boxes and either shipped directly to you or shipped to HSN. That's the only place our products go. We don't manufacture products for anyone else. We only make our own products. We are not a contract manufacturer. We have our own unique technology that allows us to make our products 100% pure, additive-free, and it only is going to our products. That's it. So if we walk over here, and this packaging line, it's probably about, I'd say it's at least 40 yards long, right? 40 or 50 yards long. And this, a very high-speed packaging line if we want it to move quickly. Right now, what we've been packaging the last few days has been Vitamin Angels. Yes. Because for and again, I said in terms of being a socially conscious company, the products we make for everyone here in America can improve the quality of our lives. These prenatal vitamins that go all around the world, and 22% of them right here in America, that saves lives, and it transforms communities. So that's something we do. Every bottle of vitamins we sell, we donate 2. Second half of the year, we'll be donating 3. It's amazing. It's a feel-good, you know? Well, we're doing the right thing. We're in a privileged position. As we look here, that's what we were talking before about teas are one of the original dietary supplements. Yeah. Because when you make tea, there are a lot of healthy teas. You're extracting these plant-based ingredients. And those ingredients that you extract that's a supplement. So we make teas, obviously. That's the most sophisticated tea making machine from Japan. They're the experts in tea making machines.
Andrew, all of these machines, a crazy question, but are they reliable? Do they break down a lot?
They're reliable, but what you need to do with all machines is you need to do preventive maintenance. So what you need to do is scheduled maintenance, preventive maintenance, like anything, like you would do on your car. But of course, there's issues that happen, and especially because our encapsulation machines, which we have, I think about a dozen of them here, just about, because we run without additives or excipients or lubricants, it's very hard on those machines. So we have to be very aggressive, and it's very costly to maintain our capsule machines because we don't use the lubricants in our powders that every other company uses.
Interesting.
But if we walk down here, this is the backside of the backside of that other room where we had the powder fill, and this is our secondary powder fill line. So I was saying before, that's where we pack it, but this is our secondary powder fill line. It's a lower speed line. What we have here are 3 blenders that are bigger than the blenders we used for probably 35 years. So these 3 blenders, whether we have a 10, and I think the last one there was a 75 cubic foot blender, these blenders are all larger than the blenders we had for 35 years.
Wow.
Now to give you a sense of the efficiency, why over the last few years so many of our prices have come down, and over decades they haven't gone up, that our prior 75 cubic foot blender had a functional capacity that was really about 40 or 45. So this is really, as a 75 cubic foot blender, almost twice the size of our original largest blender that we had for decades. But then in the last year, probably a little over a year ago, we added 2 other blenders. And that's what's really transformed our efficiency here. And just quickly, this is the warehouse where things enter. So this is where, as you can see here, basically what you're looking at is a huge amount of bottles that are stacked all the way up to 45 feet high. And you're looking at things that come in and must be all go through quality assurance. They all have to go through a quarantine process, and they have to be validated that they meet all the appropriate specifications. If it was a raw material powder, we have to make sure that we do all the appropriate test of it, like organoleptic testing and then some chemical testing to make sure it's exactly what it's supposed to be. But these are the blenders that have been huge, transformational in the efficiency of what we do here. And because this building was pre-existing, and all of the beams and things in the ceiling are pre-existing, this was a feat to create. And right now, as it gets to the top, when the blender would stop up there, that's where we fill it. And at the very bottom, where you see there's a little hatch on the very bottom when it rotates back down, that's where we will attach a super sack, and that's where we empty the blender on the bottom. And that floor is metal, that's a scale. So that is where we actually weigh the materials to confirm that everything has gone exactly as it was supposed to go in the input process and the output process from the blender. And that's a 300 cubic foot blender, which is about almost 10 times larger than our previous largest blender. This is a 150 cubic foot blender, which obviously is about 4 or 5 times larger than our previous larger blender. That is, by eliminating literally, if not hundreds, thousands of blends a year, not hundreds, thousands of blends a year, that has improved our efficiency here dramatically, and that's directly demonstrated in the cost and the efficiency of our products.
How do you manage manufacturing all the different products? Because there's a lot of products in your line.
Well, we don't have as many products as most companies, because most companies have products that I would deem not worthy of being made.
Right.
So we don't have that many products, but it requires, what do they say, it requires a village. We have a team. We have a department that deals with all the purchasing of raw materials. Then we have a department that deals with all the planning of production. We have a full production department. So like any company, there's a number of people that are very responsible for each of the disciplines that goes into making our products and making everything work on schedule, because also, unlike most companies, they make their products in a linear fashion throughout the year. What I've done is I really like to make these Today Specials have exceptional savings. So we have the burden of making most of a product in a period of 2 or 3 weeks.
Right.
That's why this facility has to be so big. So when we did our Ultimate Eye Today Special, literally we had to make somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 or 60 million capsules of Ultimate Eye in a couple of weeks. So, and this is one of the capsule machines that it's like a machine that I ran for years.
This is where it all started.
Yeah, I was running my own capsules back in 1979. And so I stood in front of these machines for years and using multiple sets of rings. I've explained how they work, where this is a hopper that holds capsules. This is a hopper that holds powder. So what you need to do is the capsules are delivered to you and they're closed. You need to get them open. So this rectifies the capsules so they're all facing the same way. Then you remove the rings from here and you separate the rings. And you actually take the open side of the rings there, so the rings are now separated.
Yes.
You move this hopper over, oops, has to be in place. You move the hopper over, you mount it on that little pin. You move the hopper over, and it's going to fill with powder.
Wow.
And then you take, once it's filled with powder, you put the rings back together again. And then once the rings are back together, you'll put them in this closing station, the way those rings are there. And the pins will push down. You can sort of see the pins in there, if we move this out.
I see it.
Those pins push on each of the individual capsules and seal them up.
Wow.
And that's how you make capsules. And then what you do is afterwards, then you do that and you eject the capsules down.
So who taught you how to do that?
Oh, this is back, I was at a friend of mine had a facility and I was doing some consulting for him and talking to doctors on his behalf and doing some education for him. And he let me come in and run his machines and make my own product back in 1979. Oh, so that's how it all started. So, and then we created our own facility after that.
Gosh.
So it was hard to believe.
That's how it began?
It was 38 years ago. Oh. And here we are 38 years later, and would have never in a million years dreamed that this could be our facility. It's better than I would ever have dreamed having. I don't think there's another facility like it anywhere in the world. In terms of all of the newness of all the equipment, everything is stainless steel equipment. We do everything as if we were making the most sophisticated pharmaceutical products, even though none of my products are drugs or pharmaceutical products.
Wow. Well, it's always a joy to be able to take a tour, to understand and see everything in action. It is a remarkable, remarkable thing. I mean, you must be very proud.
I am, well, it's almost, I don't have enough time to take a deep breath and be proud. When I read the reviews, I'm proud of the reviews. I'm proud of the experience people have with the products. But again, I think it goes back to what my parents said in that whole Satchel Paige quote. I probably don't stop long enough to take great pride in it. I'm proud to show this facility off because I think in so doing, it gives you greater confidence in what we provide. And what we provide is a level of efficacy and a level of trust that isn't available when you're purchasing products in stores. You don't get to see where those products are made. And we make sure that everything about what we do, from our labels being full disclosure to just my availability to answer questions, that I've talked about this the other day, that we have a customer care center that in the day of the internet, they've been going away and fewer people are available to answer phones. We have more people in our customer care center than ever before. Wow. And that's simply because we want to make sure that we're available to answer all your questions or your doctor's questions if they have questions. Are we supposed to be at that table? Or?
We walked to the wrong table, Andrew. That's
my goodness.
fault.
Well, it was one of two.
50-50 chance. We're
Exactly.
in Vegas. I gambled on the wrong one.
Flip a coin.
So let's go to Ultimate Friendly Flora. If you've watched any of Andrew's shows in the past that I've had the privilege of presenting, you'll know I feel very strongly about this product. There's a lot of us, Andrew, who struggle a lot with our digestion.
And most of us don't realize that when we think about these microorganisms, the friendly flora in our world and in our lives, there's actually more of those friendly organisms, or should be, than we have cells in our body. Unfortunately, so much of what we do, the way we live, again, it's sort of our modern lifestyle. Our modern lifestyle bears very little resemblance in terms of how we live, what we do, how we eat, what we eat, bears very little resemblance to what we were designed to experience. We are such a capable being, such a capable organism, that we have transformed our world. I mean, and we're literally transforming the planet. So unfortunately, with transforming our world, we live in a way that doesn't really favor our best health, that doesn't favor the best function of our digestive system. So whether it's all the things that the digestive issues and problems we might have that forces us to take drugs or medications or other issues, those drugs and medications undermine the population of friendly flora in our digestive system. It should go without saying then that our digestive system isn't going to work well.
Right.
Because a healthy digestive system requires friendly flora. So whether it's nutrient absorption or just simply the comfortable passage of food through our body, friendly flora is an absolute must. Again, this is a product that is virtually perfectly reviewed. We originally started with a product called Friendly Flora. Then we came up with our Ultimate Friendly Flora. What we did here is we simply increased the potency. Our Friendly Flora is 5 billion colony-forming units. Our Ultimate Friendly Flora is 25 billion colony-forming units per capsule. 25 billion, I think there are, what, 7 billion people on the planet?
Right.
So 25 billion is a large number, and 25 billion is a good standard number for a Friendly Flora product. 5 billion is as well, and the bargain is that with our Ultimate Friendly Flora, it's just a little bit more than twice as expensive, and you get 5 times as much potency.
So then where do we go with Digestion? Where does that focus?
Well, again, if we just look at how our digestive system functions, the Friendly Flora, the probiotics as they call them,
yes,
they populate and they are part of a healthy digestive system. Whether we take antacids or proton pump inhibitors or H2 antagonists,
right,
which are these things for GERD and acid, those affect the environment and affect our population of Friendly Flora. But there's another component to how healthy digestion works. When we eat food, we're putting all this foreign matter. It's, I actually say, the most toxic thing we do every day, if we don't smoke, the most toxic thing we do every day, even if we eat a wonderfully healthy diet, is force our body to endure foreign matter being put in it. Of course, I say this partly tongue-in-cheek because we have to eat to survive. But we're putting foreign matter inside our body, and we are requiring our body figure out at 98.6 degrees, not at some extreme temperatures, to do this rigorous chemical work to break down, other animals. We could be eating chicken or fish or beef, to break down other animals or break down other plants and find a way to extract what we need from those foods and then get rid of them before they're a problem. So eating is a potential problem, and enzymes are the key to digesting those foods in the environment within our body. And as we get older, stressed, we don't secrete the level, quantity, quality of enzymes that we did previously. And all Digestion is, it's enzymes, 100% enzymes. So both play a very easy to understand role in how our digestive system functions.
And I think, in terms of digestive issues, and I would encourage you again to please read some reviews online at hsn.com. This is an area where many, many, many people are very loyal to Andrew in terms of what these products have helped accomplish for them.
And I think we also have the Digestion Kit available.
Is that the 3-pack?
Yeah, it's a 3-pack. I think it's the Complete Digestion Kit, which has our Friendly Flora, not Ultimate, but our Friendly Flora. It also has Digestion in it, and it also has aloe vera in it.
So you get everything.
And aloe vera is a wonderful, soothing component for our digestive system. We also have available our ginger extract.
Oh, ginger.
A lot of people rely on ginger. We're actually going to be working on doing a ginger tea in the future.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Because ginger is a tasty tea. Like a ginger lemon tea is great. Just like peppermint tea is great after a meal. It's what I tend to reach for. But also ginger is wonderfully healthy, and ginger contains, they say ginger is Mother Nature's sort of natural anti-nauseant, but ginger is something that is soothing to the digestive system as well.
Well, for thousands of years in Chinese medicine, ginger's been used, hasn't it?
Exactly for that. And here's a crazy ginger root. They look like they are living things, but they truly look like a living thing. So, and Muriel at home, she often will either crush or cut up or dice up fresh ginger, and even if she's making chicken or something like that, sprinkle it on. Often use it in tea that will make a hot tea at home using fresh ginger.
So ginger is available if you'd like to order again, even though we only have about 12 minutes left of our show. Geez Louise.
How did that happen?
I don't know.
So we've been talking for an hour and 48 minutes.
It just goes. It just goes like that. So let's head over this way to cholestacare.
Right.
And I do want to save at least a minute at the end of the show. I have a question for Andrew.
And there was a good question on cholestacare amongst the questions that were asked. And so many of the things we're talking about are questions that I've been asked.
Yes.
But if if you're taking our Choco Nuvo, each piece of Choco Nuvo is the equivalent of a capsule of cholestacare.
Okay.
Cholestacare is plant sterols. Choco Nuvo is plant sterol esters. They both have the same effectiveness. They are both at the same level of potency. So it was a question. So you could use them interchangeably. For those of you who like having a piece of chocolate with each meal, then you don't have to have your cholestacare separately anymore. So it's something, they are the exact same mechanism of action, and they both are exceptionally effective at lowering our total cholesterol and our LDL, our bad cholesterol. Many people have told me that they struggle to remember which is good, which is bad. LDL is the bad one. I always say, if you can't remember, just remember lousy. So LDL is lousy. HDL is the good, and you know, people say the VLDL, that's very lousy. So, and HDL is the happy cholesterol. Right. That's the one you want high, HDL. So, but in terms of total and LDL cholesterol, you could have a significant reduction. One capsule of cholestacare, say with each meal, maybe 2 capsules at a very large meal. All you need to do is take a minimum of 2 capsules daily, and what it can deliver is reductions of 10, 15, 20% or more. There's research clinical studies that show when you combine it with a healthy diet, high in fiber, lower saturated fat and cholesterol, you can get reductions of 40%, which we've seen in many, many reviews.
Andrew, is cholesterol and cholesterol issues associated with a certain time frame in your life where it starts to become more serious?
Not necessarily. Cholesterol in some of us can get worse as we get older, but like most things, as we get older, whatever, say if our numbers are a little out of line when we're young, that deviation becomes more meaningful and more problematic as we get older. Right. Certainly, there are a lot of things more important than cholesterol in terms of cardiovascular risk, like our blood pressure, like our blood sugar in my mind, like our overweight and obesity. Cholesterol becomes very meaningful at its extremes when it becomes significantly high. What's wonderful about cholestacare is it can deliver such a significant reduction without side effect. So it could reduce, say if your cholesterol is 225, and it might not be enough to warrant taking a drug or medication, but it warrants concern. And your LDL might be 130, 140 or so. With using cholestacare, you can reduce that, say, by 15 or 20%. All of a sudden, that cholesterol level could be 175, 180, 185, and your LDL can suddenly be 100 to 110, which dramatically will change your doctor's perspective on your cardiovascular risk, particularly in light of if you have other factors in play like blood sugar or blood pressure, things like that. So it's something that's exceedingly effective. It works perfectly, just as Choco Nuvo does, with any cholesterol-lowering drug. The principal ones I think most people take are the statin drugs. Statin drugs work as an inhibitor of the HMG-CoA reductase in the liver. It inhibits cholesterol synthesis. Zetia works on sort of the metabolism of cholesterol in terms of the liver, so in terms of our digestive system. So Zetia is a different mechanism, but again, this works through your digestive system, so you don't have to worry about it having a negative impact with any of those drugs. What I've mentioned a couple of times, it's worthy of discussing with your doctor. Yes. Don't do this on your own, but talk to your doctor. If you take a statin drug, there's great research that says whatever benefit you're getting from that statin drug, especially if you're taking one of those with a longer half-life, like what is it, I think it's rosuvastatin, Crestor, a couple of the others, that you could go every other day and your numbers won't change. So, and when you go every other day, you're having your dose, you're dramatically reducing risk of side effect. With Zetia, the typical dosage, recommended dosage is 10 milligrams. I think that's the only pill that's available, perhaps, that you could cut that in half at 5 milligrams, and I think the clinical studies have said that your cholesterol number will not really change significantly. Again, having the dose dramatically reduces side effects. So again, talk to your doctor about this. It's not necessarily something that your doctor might even be aware of, but there is research out there, and because I'm always drowning in research, I might as well share it. And again, don't act upon it on your own, just talk to your doctor about it.
If you're looking to lower your cholesterol, certainly investigate this product. And you know, I think for a lot of us, when we think about reviews and people commenting on something, it is human nature that the most of us leave negative reviews, or we're more open to complain about something if it's not right. Well, with Andrew, it's the complete reverse of that. Folks, there are thousands of people that say, oh my gosh, I have to share my story. And this is a great example.
Oh no, cholestacare is in terms of reviews, it's one of those products where the numbers, the numbers don't lie. And also, with all the pressure the FDA had from the drug companies to not approve a natural ingredient to lower total and LDL cholesterol, for the FDA to do that, all it speaks is to the reliability of that ingredient, the trustworthiness of the ingredient, the safety of the ingredient. So it's a natural product. It doesn't come with any side effects or warnings, but it's a wonderful way to do something that we all seek. But most of the time when we have to seek outside to fix it, we're fixing it with a drug or medication, which comes with side effects and issues. And we want to do that, again, as carefully, cautiously, as judiciously as possible. And many people aren't candidates for taking the statin drugs because of the way they affect them. Also, if you take a statin drug, it's a HMG-CoA reductase inhibitor, that enzyme in your liver. In so doing, it's also an inhibitor of CoQ10 synthesis. So you're synthesizing less CoQ10 necessary for muscle function, energy function, cellular function. So again, you should be supplementing coenzyme Q10 if you are taking a statin drug, at least 200 milligrams daily. Absolutely, positively.
So let's end the show with another one of really the big hitters, something that everybody seemingly adores. Well, it keeps things going, Andrew.
I was going to say it's appropriate. It's appropriate to end the show with fibermucil because usually it's from that other end that we experience the joyful benefits of this product. And I don't say that lightly. If you read the reviews of fibermucil, people have a love affair with this product, just as they say do with circulation vein support. But talk about a fiber product that will not upset your stomach, that will not cause bloating, will not cause gas, and all it does is gently helps move things through you in a comfortable fashion, helps support regularity in a comfortable fashion, because it's hard or impossible to be regular without adequate fiber intake. And one of the defining characteristics of the American diet is inadequate fiber intake. Also, if you want your numbers with cholestacare, if you want to add another 5% or so in the reduction that you get with cholestacare, every time you take a capsule of cholestacare, take 1 or 2 capsules of fibermucil. Cholestacare kind of acts like a sponge. It really blocks the absorption of the cholesterol in your body, the blocks the reabsorption of bile. And what fibermucil does acts as like a broom, sweeping it out. So between the two, you get even better cholesterol reduction and an even greater improvement in terms of your cardiovascular risk profile.
So, Andrew, as we come to the end of the show, there is a question I want to ask you.
Uh-oh.
Okay. If you could travel back 38 years, right, what would the Andrew Lessman of today say to the Andrew Lessman who is just starting out? What would be the advice that you would give that Andrew Lessman?
That's a great question, and I would have no doubt about the answer. That we talked about this show initially, we talked about stress and sort of having conviction about having a path in life. That I had conviction, I had a path, but the world is a difficult place. And what is it in Shakespeare? Surviving the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. That life can be harsh, life can be difficult. And what probably the most important thing I could say is just keep the faith. Just hang in there, because a lot of those big companies out there targeted us. And sometimes you just have to keep the faith and have confidence that if you do it right, that you're going to survive and you're going to do well. So that's what I try to say that when I speak to students, when I speak to young people, that I say whatever you do, you just have to do it with conviction, do it with passion. If you have doubts, put them on the back burner. Yeah. Let the world tell you if what you're doing is correct or not. So that's what I would say to myself, just as I try to say it to everybody.
And I think that comes through. I think if there's one thing to take away from any show that you watch with Andrew is the passion is there, the conviction is there, the absolute pursuit of delivering the perfect product. Andrew is so involved when it comes to your opinion, your attitude, your response to this. Knowing Andrew as I do behind the screen, he's exactly the same as he is on TV. That's what you are, Andrew, and it's good for all of us.
That's what my mom, at her birthday party a few years ago, I had said that my mom was once interviewed and asked what is she most proud of, and she said, well, that through all the years and the growth of his company, he hasn't changed at all. He's exactly the same. And then they asked her, what are you most disappointed about your son? And he'd go, well, throughout all he's done, he hasn't changed at all. So, no, so again, my parents, this is their doing. We are all the handiwork of our parents, and I was blessed with great parents. So and they gave me a healthy dose of humility. So, well, thanks to them.
Mr. Andrew Lessman, from all of us here, we thank you again.
Thank you.
It's always fun to do this. And when are you back at HSN?
Not back till sometime after the 4th of July in July, sort of the middle of July.
Oh, it's a while then.
It's a while, yep. So we take a little break, try to catch up. We might try to do an online event where we answer all your questions, which I always love to do. So that might be coming up in the next month or two.
Well, even though Andrew's not here until July, of course, all of the wonderful products are available at these special prices while supplies last, and of course until the end of the visit. Well, from the entire team here in Henderson, Nevada, Andrew, again, thank you, sir.
And we should all be grateful to the whole team here in Henderson, Nevada, at my company at HSN, who make these broadcasts possible, because we take it for granted, but they come off without a hitch. And this is satellite uplink to Florida and to all your homes. It's amazing, amazing.